Hi, everyone. Welcome to our massage workshop. My name is Ananda, and I'm a member of Boston Doula Circle. We provide birth and postpartum doula services throughout the greater Boston area, along with a variety of other offerings. Thank you so much for being here today. I've been a doula since 1995, and I'm the co-author of The Doula Guide to Birth, published by Penguin Random House. I've also been a massage therapist since 2003, and I'm so happy that we're here today to talk about the use of caring touch and its importance in all of our lives. I'm joined today by Philip, who's sitting here with me, and I'm also joined behind the scenes by Lauren, my wonderful doula colleague who is helping me with tech support today. The way that we're going to conduct this session is that everyone who's watching live will be muted. So you'll just be hearing from myself. You might hear from Lauren occasionally as well. We'd love for you to participate and interact with us. So if you do have questions or comments as we go along and you're watching live, please drop them into our chat box, and we'll answer those questions as we get the chance. And someone has asked about where to get a copy of my book. And it can be requested from any bookstore. So Barnes and Noble, local independent bookstores, just walk right in and ask for it, and hopefully they can get it delivered to the store within a day or two. And I'll also try to post a link. You can order it directly from the publisher, so I'll try to post a link for that as well. So thank you for being here. This is massage workshop number 2 that we're offering. And you do not have to have participated in workshop number 1 to be here. You don't need to have prior experience with massage. The topic of massage and caring touch is something that is important to our lives under normal circumstances, and it's even more important right now under the circumstances of social distancing and isolation that we've been experiencing during the pandemic. There was a very good article on this topic published in Wired magazine about a phenomenon called skin hunger. And that is a term that scientists have given to our biological need for human touch. So we experience something called skin hunger if we, if we're not able to have that need satisfied. I'm gonna drop a link also to that article into the chat, because it's of even more importance during pandemic times. It's wonderful that we can come together and practice. So our goal is, my goal is to make this a regular offering throughout the year where we can come together and practice massage with one another. We've got another session scheduled on February 18th, 2022, and then I'm hoping to keep going with that throughout the rest of the year as well. So massage is something that's not meant to be experienced only once. It's something that we benefit from the most if we're able to incorporate it in our lives on a regular basis. So if you are watching live and you have a massage partner with you, you'll be able to practice along with me. Today, if you're watching and you're not with another person, that's fine. There will be a video recording, and then you can follow along again with that recording. So in either case, it's wonderful to have you here. I'm going to be guiding us today in massage techniques that can be used in everyday life They can also be used specifically during pregnancy and even during the actual event of childbirth. So one of my favorite factoids or factlets is that when researchers have studied the use of massage during childbirth, what they have found is that people who were able to receive touch and massage rated it as one of the very best comfort measures and forms of natural pain relief for childbirth, which is a pretty incredible conclusion to come to. However, what these studies showed was that the number of people who reported that they did receive touch and massage during childbirth was a very small number. So the fewest number of people reported that they actually were able to experience receiving touch in childbirth, the fewest number of people. The ones who did receive it rated it at the very top of the most effective comfort measures and pain relief measures. So pretty interesting there. So we're gonna, again, the techniques I'll be showing you today can be used in everyday life as well as in a special situation such as a person giving birth. And I just would like to say a word about precautions, and then we'll get going with our massage lesson. Our precaution is that if you're watching this today and you're somebody who's ever experienced having a blood clot or a blood clotting disorder, then we ask that you not participate and we ask that you not receive massage until you have had a chance to talk to your doctor and you and your doctor have come to the agreement that would be okay. You can, if you're here again under those circumstances, you can give massage. You wouldn't be able to receive it today until you've had that conversation with your doctor. And speaking of blood clotting, for people who are pregnant or for people who are within the first 2 months postpartum, they have increased clotting factors in their blood circulation system. And what that means is that there's a bit of an increased chance that a blood clot might form. The place blood clots are most likely to form are in the legs. I think of it as the inseam area. So kind of like this inner surface of the legs. And so during pregnancy, that simply means that we can touch the legs of a pregnant person. We just want to use our lightest possible touch for someone who's pregnant. And so I'll remind everyone of that as we go along. For someone who is in their early postpartum time, the blood clotting factors are increased even more. So we would skip the legs altogether for a massage. However, there is plenty that we can do, wonderful massage that we can do on the upper body for postpartum. So pregnancy is not contraindicated for massage. Pregnancy massage is very wonderful for pregnancy. We just want to be aware of that precaution, that when we touch the legs of a pregnant person, we use light touch, and that's in the rare chance that there could be blood clotting. We don't want to disturb a blood clot, but massage is still allowed during pregnancy. So we are going to go ahead and get started. If you're with your massage partner, I'd like you to be in 2 chairs, sitting side by side. And you're going to choose someone to be person A and person B. I'll be partner A for this part of our session, and partner A is the one who's going to be giving the massage first. Partner B is going to receive the massage first, and we're going to go for about a half an hour, and then we're going to take a break and we'll switch roles. So If you're able to sit in a way that mirrors how we're seated, that's fine. The person giving can mirror me. The person receiving can mirror where Philip's sitting. We're also going to stand up and change positions during this workshop and talk about how to incorporate massage into different positions. And that's in particular for the purpose of using massage during childbirth. If someone's in labor and moving around, their support person can follow their lead and bring these techniques over to the person in labor in whatever position they're taking. But we'll start with this position where we're both just seated comfortably. As the person giving the massage, I'm going to turn my chair so that I am directly facing my partner's side. So you can go ahead and do that. The person receiving the massage, just as Philip has done, I'd like you to rest your hands on top of your upper legs. And then also make sure that your feet are flat on the floor. And you can, it's nice to, if you're wearing a watch, it's nice to remove your watch, right? So we're gonna start out, and as the person giving the massage, I'm simply gonna rest my hands on my partner's shoulder. And I'm gonna notice that I want to be making full hand contact. And what I mean by that is that the palms of my hands are flat against my partner's body. My fingers are flat against my partner's body as well. So we're not so much doing something where we're, kind of making a claw shape and using our fingertips only. We want to be making full contact with the hands. And then next, what I'm going to do is I'd like you to take your two hands and rotate them so that they are facing toward the front of your partner's body. And now we're gonna do our first stroke, which is to glide down the arm. So I'm gonna keep my two hands next to one another, and I'm gonna pretty slow pace. I'm gonna glide down the arm and come off of the fingertips. I'll come back to my starting place, rest my two hands, glide downward pretty slowly, come off of the fingertips. Do that with me. And we'll repeat that a few times. My pace is fairly slow, and my pressure is it's a light to medium pressure. We're not going for heavy duty squeezing. And one more thing I want you to notice is that as your hands glide down, in order to maintain that full hand contact, take a look at the screen here and notice that I'd like your hands to actually be wrapped around the arm of your partner. So I'm not just touching with the fingertips or the heels of my hand, but I've got my my whole hand wrapped around my partner to maintain that full hand contact and as much as much contact as possible, basically. And then gliding, come down one more time, glide down, wrap the hands around, come off of the fingertips, and now I'd like you to come back up onto the fingertips and then glide upward on your partner's arm and then come back down again. Come down and off the fingertips and then come back up. So let's repeat that a few times. And this is just to get us started. Get us familiar with the basic stroke that we're going to be using. This is a gliding stroke from Swedish massage, also known as F-Garage. If you've ever had a massage in a spa or a health club in the US, this is the most likely style that you've encountered. There's other styles as well, but these nice long gliding strokes for relaxation. Some people love having their arms massaged. So I'm one of those people. When I was working full-time as a massage therapist, I would sometimes book a massage for myself to receive the massage and then spend the entire hour having my arms massaged. And for other people, the arms might not be that interesting or exciting. So we're gonna move around to different parts of the body. What I can also do, I'm going to scoop my chair so that I'm a little bit closer. I'm moving forward so that I'm a little bit closer to Philip's knee rather than his shoulder. Okay. And now what I'm going to do by doing that, I've moved myself so that I can continue gliding, and I'm going to glide on the leg. I'm going to do the same thing, make that full hand contact with my hands. And now I'm going to bend forward and I'm going to start to glide down the legs. Tilt this a little bit, okay. All right. So if it's comfortable for you to bend forward, take your two hands, glide them down the legs, come back up, connect that to the hand and arm, go all the way back up to the top. So now we can glide from the shoulder, down the arm and off the hands. We can connect that to the leg. Keep going. If it's comfortable for you to reach down on the leg, let's repeat that a few times. Two hands touching with full hand contact. Gliding down, connecting upward with the arm, gliding down again. And that's how a massage therapist choreographs a massage. They start with one part of the body, and then they glide into the connecting part of the body that's next to it. And they do that continuously until they've reached all the body parts that they'd like to reach. So now I'm going to come back so that I'm closer to Philip's shoulder. I'd like you to do the same thing. And this time I'm going to take my two hands, I'm going to reach across so that my hands are resting on my partner's shoulder that's farther away from me. So go ahead and do that. And it gives us an opportunity to, if we'd like to, we can kind of give each other a hug right here. So Philip and I lean toward each other, then we can, we can simply hold on and use this position as a position of comfort in itself, even though we're not actively doing a lot of massage. It can be a really nice feeling simply to be held. Okay, and then we're going to sit back up again, and I'm going to now take my two hands and I'm going to glide them toward me. So I've got one hand in the back here and one in front. I'm going to glide those across the top of my partner's torso. So let's go ahead and try that. We're just going to glide from the farther shoulder to the closer shoulder, and then go back. Back several times. Making full hand contact. Not too much pressure, with a light to medium pressure. It's the glide that's doing the work. I'm not using any heavy squeezing. Just gliding with full hand contact. And I usually suggest to repeat a stroke about 5 to 10 times. So rather than stroking just 2 or 3 times, go ahead and continue what you're doing a bit longer. So I usually suggest 5 to 10 times. And that allows the person to kind of settle into the sensation. So now when I bring the hands back toward me, I'm going to pause at the shoulder, and then I'm going to connect that to the stroke that we started with. So now I'm going to turn my hands forward again. and I'm going to glide down the arm and off of the fingertips. And then I'm going to come back up, glide up the arm until I reach the shoulder. And now I can move across the torso to the shoulder that's farther away from me. So let's do that. Come back towards yourself. Turn the hands forward if you want to take a look at the screen and see what I'm doing, so that I can now glide down the arm with my fingertips facing the front of my partner's body. And when I come off of the hands, I can start to also glide down the leg. So let's do that together. I can really connect the leg to the arm to the top of the torso. Come back down again. Torso, arm, hand, leg. Okay, so I've now made contact with this entire half of my partner's body, and I could switch sides and take care of the other half as well. And what I'd like you to do, if you're practicing this with a partner right now, is I'd like you to pause for a moment and just check in with your partner and find out how that felt for them. Did the pacing feel like the right pace for what they would enjoy? Would they like to try it slowed down a bit? So sometimes when we start to kind of speed up, it can be nice to cut your pacing in half and go at half the pace, slow it down even more. Or you could try going a bit faster and see if that's preferred by your partner. And then also check in about the amount of pressure. Would they like you to try using the lightest possible touch? So it's almost like using a feather. Or would they like you to lean in and use a little bit more pressure? So please have that check-in with your partner. This is an important part of learning, an important part of practicing, just to give feedback so we know how each person experiences the touch. It's going to be different for everyone, even for people who are someone's significant other or an intimate partner. Both individuals are going to have their own unique preferences, and that's fine. We don't have to be identical. So just check in and see what's the ideal for your partner who's receiving massage. Ask them how they felt about the speed and also about the pressure. So just take a moment to do that. Do you want to try? Do you want to try going slower? It's good pace for you. Okay. And then you want to try going like really light? Do you want to see what that feels like?
Yeah, just for contrast.
So this is the very light. I would call this my lightest possible touch. Can you still feel that?
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of a different effect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so thank you for having that check-in. This is, again, part of learning and practicing is to have a dialogue with your massage partner. So we are going to make a change in position right now. And we're going to try out a couple of standing positions. So when I think about everyday life, I think about times, for example, if I'm standing at the sink, washing dishes, and a friend comes up behind me and starts to give me a shoulder rub or a massage, it's very appreciated. So we can incorporate touch and massage into everyday life in that way. In a childbirth situation, it's beneficial for the person who's giving birth to maintain upright positions and standing positions as much as they're able to. Women in labor tend to instinctively stand up and then take on a forward leaning position so that the abdomen hangs forward, and that gives some relief to the sensations that are happening in the belly, the contractions of labor. And so I'd like us to just have this in our repertoire. So I'm going to ask Philip to stand up. And would you please place this chair facing the wall over there? And I'd like you all to do the same thing. If you're able to, just take one of your chairs and have it face a wall, just like we're doing right here. Okay, so the wall is going to give it support. And then what we're going to demonstrate right now is that Philip's going to just take his hand and grasp the top of the chair. He's fairly tall. And Philip, you can step back just one small step and lean forward just a bit. Okay, so this works for his height. If he were a bit shorter, he might actually bend his arms and rest his forearms on the chair. So why don't you show us that as well? I think it's probably not ideal for your height. How does that feel?
Feels okay.
Feels okay. Do you prefer the other one?
I think this is probably more comfortable.
Okay, so let's do that. So just find a way to lean forward. During childbirth, this could be someone leaning forward on a piece of furniture. I've seen people lean forward onto their kitchen counters. If you are in a hospital setting, I've seen people lean onto the railings on the wall of a hospital room, or I've seen people lift an electric hospital bed to a taller height and then use that to lean on. So rather than spending all our time in the bed, we can use the bed as something to lean on. And so for the person giving the massage, we now have access to our partner's back. So I'm going to start by resting my hands at the shoulder level, and starting from the side that's closer to me, I'm just going to glide crosswise on my partner's shoulder. So go ahead and try that with me. Full hand contact, gliding across the upper back, one shoulder to the other. And now I'm going to use a movement to bring my hands to the middle back. So I'm just going to come downward a bit. I connected the upper back to the middle back. How does that feel so far? And I'm going to keep going in a downward direction on the back until I get to the low back. So from one side of the body to the other. And I'll make my way back up again. I started at the shoulders. Now I'm at the low back. I'm going to go back up again. Middle back, upper back. Something else I can do in this position is that when I'm in the upper back, I can take my two hands and I can kind of make, I'm going to call it a circle, a large circle on the back, or maybe it's more of a large rectangle. So I'm going to take my two hands and I'm going to glide them down my partner's side. I'm reaching across my partner's body, and I'm going to glide them down the side, kind of the side of the rib cage. I'm going to come across the lower back. I'm going to come back up the rib cage on the side I'm standing on, and then go across the shoulder. So let's do that. Let's try and make a large circle or a large rectangle. Do that a few more times. And I'm also going to do something now where I stand directly behind Philip. And Phil, I'm going to have you basically do what you're doing, but just don't want to change the camera angle a little bit. Can you step your feet to your left a little bit? So I can just see your back a bit more. Yeah, that's perfect. Are you still comfortable?
Yeah,
laying there? Okay, so just so you can see what I'm doing, I'm resting my two hands on my partner's lower back, and they're basically on either side of my partner's spine. And now I'm gonna glide upward with the hands up to the sides of the spine until I get to the shoulders. And I'm gonna come back down again, either side of the spine. And I want to go as far as I can with my distance. So I'm pretty low down on the back. I'm just below the waistline. And then I'm going to go all the way up, and I want my fingers to kind of reach over the top of the shoulders. And I'm going to come back down again. Let's repeat that a few times. I don't want to shortchange things and kind of go almost to the top, but not quite. I want to keep going all the way over. Top, come back down, and then kind of come as low as I can. And I'm being mindful of staying on either side of the spine. There's a row of muscles to either side called the erector muscles. They keep our backs erect and upright. They do a lot of work for us, so it can be very nice to rub along those two lines on either side of the spine. We don't want to rub right in the center of the spine. So Philip, if you stand up and with your back to this camera, right in the very center, I can find it here. Yeah, right in the very center, this is the spine itself. This is the spinal column, the vertebrae, and that's bone. So we don't want to massage bone. That's because that's not the feeling that we're going for. So sometimes you have to kind of press a bit and ask your partner, am I on the muscle? I just want to make sure that I'm not pushing into the bone, which won't feel comfortable. So Philip, am I on the muscles? Okay, great. So we're looking for soft tissue, not hard tissue. So then also for a standing position, you can now standing face me, Phil. And this is one that many people are familiar with, and we can simply, I'm going to trade places with you all together. And we can simply go for a hug. So if this is somebody that I know well enough to hug, or meaning somebody in my life that I feel close to, or if this is again a childbirth situation, if one of us is a doula, sometimes a doula will make very close contact with the pregnant person that they're supporting. We do so it depends on your comfort level. Because I'm a massage therapist, I'm a dancer, I've been a doula for 26 years. I've gotten to the point where I'm really comfortable getting close to someone quickly. So if I were supporting a pregnant person, even if we didn't know each other very, very well, I would ask their permission, and I'd suggest to them, why don't you put your arms around me so that you can lean on me if you're comfortable doing so. So we ask for consent, and we test the both people's comfort level. And so we can hold on to each other pretty closely. Maybe this is my significant other in a childbirth situation or in just everyday life. And so again, that close body contact, I feel a lot of warmth radiating from Phil's body, and it's a comforting feeling. It's addressing my skin hunger that we talked about earlier. That need, the biological need that we have for human touch. And here we can incorporate massage, where I can, I can glide up and down my partner's back from this position. So go ahead and try that if you're comfortable. Lower back, gliding all the way up, tie the hand to the shoulders, and back down again. Pretty easy. So sometimes for birthing purposes, this is called the slow dancing position, where two people are, one person is kind of using their body to physically support another person's body. This has been observed throughout cultures and time periods all over the world, is that this kind of holding someone up during childbirth seems to be universal. And if it's not the right thing to do for a particular person because it's too much closeness, that's totally fine. And we're gonna, for some people this would be the right thing, and for others. So, so that's a way to use a standing position. And so now we're going to move into another set of positions, which I'm going to call the kneeling positions. And for that one, I've got a yoga mat. So if I just would like you to have something for the person who's receiving massage they're going to be doing some kneeling on the floor if that's comfortable for your personal body mechanics. And so in order to do that, I'd like you to have something to put under your knees. So if you could please grab a pillow, a yoga mat, or just a towel. Perhaps you could fold up a towel a couple of times so that it creates enough cushioning to put underneath your knees. So let's do that. So and I'll
Move the chair.
let's see. Oh, you know what? Why don't you come into this space right here? Stretch it all the way up because we're going to start with a hands and knees position.
Okay. Swear.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so I discussed this with Philip ahead of time. I know that he's comfortable supporting himself on hands and knees, which many people are, some people might not be, but we commonly see this used during birth. And then I'm going to adapt the same massage strokes to this position. So I'm going to do my gliding. I've also got some cushioning under my knees as well, since we're both on the floor here. And I'm going to glide from one side of Phil's torso to the other. We're going to do that with me in this position. And I can do that circular motion, that large circle where I come up one side, across the top, down the other side of the ribs, across the bottom. And I've got this nice big circle happening, and I'm still making full hand contact. So if you want to take a look at the screen, you can see that I'm for almost all these strokes, my hands are really nice and flat against my partner. I'm not really just using the heels of my hands like this or the fingertips like that. I'm really making sure that my palm is fully in contact, my fingers are fully in contact, side by side, and I keep that contact. So that's almost more important than how much pressure there is. So I can use very light pressure. And I'm doing that right now. I'm lightening up. I'm going with my lightest possible touch now. But I'm still maintaining that full hand contact. Or I could lean in a bit and I could use more pressure, but the important thing is full hand contact. From here, I'm going to, let's see, I'll come around to this side. And again, Phil, how are you doing with your wrists?
You do some cat cows.
You can do some yoga, some cats and cows. And so I just came over here to show that whatever position my partner is in, I'm going to go to them and I'm just going to apply the same types of strokes. So I can come up and down the leg like this. So feel free to try this, and then I can go along the torso, connect that to the leg. Oops. So feel free to try that. I can come down the arm. So whatever you have access to, just take your hand and glide it along the body part that you have access to. So I have access to Phil's leg right here, to his torso, and to his arm, and to his entire back. So whatever you have access to, you can usually go ahead and touch. Most areas of the body are okay for touch. If you're not sure, then ask. There we go. So another variation on hands and knees. So why don't you sit back just to give yourself a break, and then let's try another kneeling position. And this one involves the chair again. So this time I'm going to sit in the chair in the normal way. And I'm still the person giving the massage. I'm going to sit in the chair. Tilt this up just a bit. And Philip's going to come and face me in a kneeling position. And he's gonna basically lean into my lap. So see if you can arrange yourself this way. You might think, like, is this a position I would ever really get into in everyday life? Probably not in everyday life. But again, going back to a childbirth scenario, I've actually seen this quite a few times. So a person in labor might just find their way over to their support person and drop down into their lap. And so this is what it would look like. And from here, what I have access to is Phil's upper back. So I'm gonna glide. See if you can kind of get yourself into this interesting kneeling position. And I can reach the top half of his torso. So I'm gliding my hands on either side of the spine, the muscles, not the spine itself. Gliding up and down. And then I can also I can bring my hands out more to the sides. So if you take a look, you'll see the difference here. One way to do it is to keep my hands closer to the spine on these muscles right next to the spine. The other way to do it is to bring my hands out to the sides of the rib cage and glide up and down. And then Phil's leaning on me with his arms, so I have access to his arms. And now I can glide on the arms. Are you comfortable in this position?
The arms take some of the pressure off me.
So we used 2 pillows in order for Phil to lean in my lap. You might use 1 pillow. But you know, it's nice to have something on the lap to lean on, so the person's not just kind of leaning on my somewhat bony legs. There's a pillow there. The other thing I want to suggest in this position is that my hands can nicely reach his upper back. And so now I'm going to do something a little bit different than what I've been saying all along. I am going to change the angle of my hands into kind of like a C shape. And I am going to use my fingertips because I'm going to do a scratching motion right now. So this is kind of the one exception to full hand contact. Okay. So I'm going to now just take my hands and I'm going to scratch in pretty large circles. How does that feel? Not scratching too hard. I'm still using light to medium pressure. My circles are probably about 6 inches around. And that brings in a little bit of different sensation. Right now, I'm using my actual fingernails. Fingernails feels okay for you? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Or I could, this is now I'm using just fingertips and not fingernails. Which one do you prefer?
The variety is good.
Like the variety. Okay. And then the last variation on this kneeling position that we're going to try, I can't reach too much farther. I can't really reach past Phil's middle back here. So I'm really just up top. Actually, one more thing I'm going to bring in here is to grasp the shoulder muscles, the trapezius muscle, which is the very top layer at the apex of the shoulders here. There's a layer of soft tissues. It's kind of like what if you would give somebody a shoulder massage, you would usually grasp this soft tissue at the very top. You can do that from this angle. So I'm going to position my hands so that my thumbs reach a little bit underneath Phillips trapezius, and my fingertips are on the top, and I'm just going to squeeze. I'm going to use a squeezing motion here. So just see if you can give a shoulder rub in this position using a again light to medium pressure. And get some feedback from your massage partner. Are you in the right place? And is this something that they find enjoyable? Most of us really enjoy having a shoulder rub. And so now the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have Phil sit back just to take a break for a moment. I'm going to stand up, and then Phil's actually going to take on the same position, but without me in the chair. So go ahead and lean onto the chair and see if you would like both of those pillows, or if you want to just have one pillow. How's that? Okay, so again, something we might see a person do during childbirth is people will often kind of drop down on their knees and lean forward onto something. And so now I can bring in my techniques. I can do my large circle on the back. And something else I can do here, this is a new stroke I'm gonna try out. I'm gonna take my two hands and I'm gonna have them side by side, and I'm gonna drape that over the back of my partner's neck. And now I'm gonna make this into a squeezing motion. So I'm just gonna squeeze from the back, and I'm gonna do a light squeeze on the neck. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And there's not a lot of space where I can travel, but I'm kind of moving up and down the neck. Lower neck, I can travel a little bit higher up toward the base of the skull. And then I can move my hands down and up. So I'm kind of, if you look at the screen, I'm kind of moving my hands up and down the neck, and I'm giving a squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Does that feel okay?
Yeah.
So in any position where you have access to the back of someone's neck, you can make this C shape with your hand and just grasp the back of the neck. And then again, I can rub the arms. I'm reaching across. Kind of hugging. A hug. I'm rubbing the arm. I'm going to repeat that one about 5 times. Down the side of the torso. Are you still okay in this position? I can reach down the leg. So anything that I can reach is fine. This is causing me to bend my own back a little bit, so I'm going to adjust. I'm going to come into more of a position where I'm fully sitting or kneeling myself. That feels better in my back. So if you're the person giving a massage and you ever find that you have to torque your own body in order to get into position to provide the massage, we actually don't want to do that. We want to make sure that the person giving the massage is not torquing their body and that they can sustain their own position. We don't want anyone to get hurt. We don't want to cause hurt to the person receiving the massage, but we don't want to cause hurt to the person giving the massage either. So this is important, and it's true for nurses, midwives, doctors. In their work, they are susceptible to getting into positions that could cause some injury. And if you notice that happening, it's better to stop what you're doing. Pause and readjust rather than saying, gosh, I don't want to disappoint the person who's receiving the massage. I don't want to stop what I'm doing. They really need me. That's true, but they're also going to need you in a half an hour. And if what you're doing is not sustainable, then it's not worth it to do that, to stay in that position even for 5 or 10 minutes. You really want to get out of that position and fix what you're doing. So we are going to pause here and take a break for 5 minutes. And then we're going to come back and we are going to change roles. If you have any questions about things that have come up so far, I see that there's a few questions in the chat. Please add any other questions that you have and we'll get your questions answered. I have 12:51 on my clock, so let's come back at 12:56 and we'll change roles and we'll start out sitting in the 2 chairs once again, and then we're going to add some new techniques. So we're not going to repeat identically what we just did. We're going to try out some new things as well. So it's 12:52, so let's come back at 12:57. Okay, let's get started again. And I'm actually going to ask Lauren behind the scenes to just let me know if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so what we've done this time is we've switched roles. And I think I got to all the questions in the chat. Yes. Okay, we've switched roles. So please go ahead and do that. And now person B will be giving the massage and person A will be receiving the massage. And we're going to start out in the same way with the seated position. And then we're going to go on and make a few changes to position after that. So yes, scoot forward, just that's perfect. So now, if you're the person giving the massage, we're going to start out in the same way, which is to take your 2 hands and place them on your partner's shoulder that's closest to you, and notice that you're making full hand contact. So that means that the palm of your hand and all of your fingers are resting closely against your partner. And we're not going just for fingertips only. We're not going for kind of the heels of the hands giving pressure. We're evenly distributing the contact with our entire hand. And now what I'm going to do is to rotate my hands toward the front of my partner's body. The person receiving the massage, just like Phil is doing, is going to have their hands flat on the tops of their legs. And they're also going to have their feet flat on the floor. Okay. So I'm giving the massage, turning my hands toward the front of my partner's body. And now in a fairly slow movement, I'm going to glide down the arm, my hands side by side. And they're going to come off of the fingertips. Come back to the starting place. Shoulder, gliding down the arms, off the fingertips. Repeat that a few times. This is a light to medium pressure. Not going for heavy duty squeezing or deep tissue, deep pressure. I'm really just going for a nice gliding contact. And now let's notice as we come down the arm about the halfway point, take a look at the screen and just notice again, we want to wrap our hands around our partner's arm. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm not like, holding my fingertips away. I'm really getting them wrapped around from both sides of my hand. So full hand contact, gliding down. Repeat. Usually repeat a stroke about 5 to 10 times. And now coming off the hand, let's glide back up onto the fingertips, upward on the arm, all the way to the shoulder. Just complete that entire stroke. Now we can go back and forth. We go down, off the fingertips, but then come back up onto the fingertips. Let's go down and then up again. And notice your pace. Let's keep the pace really on the slow side. So try not to speed up ahead of the pace that I'm doing. Try to go at this fairly slow pace. Sometimes it's easy to speed something up, and we have to notice whether that's happening and slow it down. Sometimes I'll say just cut the pace in half. Try that out to really go for that slow effect of a gliding effleurage stroke, which brings on a relaxation response. Now I'm going to move my chair closer to my partner's knee so that I can reach as I glide down the arm. I can connect that to the leg. I can now glide downward. I've got my two hands, if you want to take a look, they're now making full contact with the leg. And they're gliding down as far as I can comfortably reach. If it's not comfortable for me to bend forward, I wouldn't do this, but that's okay for me for right now. Glide, connect it to the arm. Now go back up again, all the way to the shoulder. Come down, wrapping my hands around, gliding down the leg, coming back up. And remember, if this is being used on the legs of a pregnant person, we would use our lightest possible touch on the legs. So kind of like light as a feather on the legs, even though sometimes it's tempting to really squeeze the legs of a pregnant person. Sometimes Charlie horse or cramping is a symptom of pregnancy. We actually don't want to use squeezing techniques to treat that. We would instead kind of stretch, we'd flex, we'd flex and extend the foot of the person who's experiencing the cramping. That would be a better way to handle it. We don't actually want to squeeze out the legs of a pregnant person. Somewhere that we can bring a squeezing stroke into the picture is on the upper body. That would be okay. And so as I return to my partner's arm, now I can try a light squeezing stroke. This is a little bit different, and I'm going to call it like a light compression. And what I'm going to do on the arms is I'm going to still make that full hand contact, but now I'm going to, instead of gliding, I'm going to stay in place and give it a light squeeze. And then I'm going to move my hand maybe upward on the arm, give that another very light squeeze, keep moving up and give it a light squeeze. So try that out. As you move, now I'm moving downward again. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. When I get to the hand, I can squeeze the hand. I can squeeze my partner's fingers very nicely, not too much pressure. I'm still on the hand. The extremities are sometimes a very nice place to just give a little extra focus. We have so many sensory receptors in our hands and our feet. So I'm still squeezing, just grasping my partner's hand in my hands and squeezing. And then I'm going to make my way back up. I'm kind of like walking my hands up this arm. And I can feel myself using about a medium pressure. Is that okay?
I like that.
It just brings a different sensation. All right. And then I'm going to come back up to the shoulder, and we'll do the technique that we used earlier in the lesson, which I'm just going to reach across my partner in front and back and rest my hands on the shoulder that's farther away from me. We can kind of lean toward each other, and this could become a hug, kind of a resting pose. Just the comfort of close proximity is all we're doing right here. And to me, this is massage. Okay. Now we're going to sit back up again. And I'm going to take my two hands at the far end. I'm going to glide them back toward me to this shoulder. It's closer. I'm going to go back and forth. Farther shoulder, closer shoulder. One hand in front, one hand in back. Light pressure. And notice your pace. If you find yourself speeding up, try cutting your pace in half. Very good. And when I get to the hand that's the shoulder that's closer to me, now I'm going to turn my fingers forward and connect it to the stroke I was doing earlier. Lie down the arm and maybe even down the leg. Connecting one body part to the next. Back up the arm, across the torso, down the arm, and down the leg. So that's our basic stroke to get us started, and we'll usually do that in most of our massage sessions, and then we'll go on to our variations. And this is an interesting position. Now I'm going to have Philip turn his chair to face me.
Okay.
I'm going to stand up. And I'm going to move my chair away a bit. And this is a position that might be used again in a birthing situation. I'm the support person. Phil is the person birthing. And I'm going to have you just widen your knees just a little bit so that I can come right here as the support person. And I'm going to invite Phil to lean toward me. And basically just use me to lean on. Okay, so if you're able to get into the position, feel free to try this out. And now I can massage his back. He's basically just relaxing and resting while leaning onto me. And I'm trying to keep my posture straight. So usually the support person wants to have straight posture. Again, in a birthing situation, the pregnant person, they can lean forward onto the support person, but the support person wants to remain upright so that you don't get injured. We stay upright so that the forces of weight are going down through our body, and they're not weighing on us with our body, like, you know, at an angle. We really want to be straight up and down to be able to support another person's weight. So just wanted to quickly show you that. So Phil, let's have you sit up again. And now we are going to get moved toward some positions that resemble more of a lying down position. So I've got my sofa right here. If you're near your sofa, that would be helpful to use. Actually, another option would be, if there's not a sofa available, Phil, I'm going to have you stand up and move your chair just back to that wall. Yeah, just to get it out of the way.
Okay.
So Phil's going to sit on the sofa, but if the sofa was not available, what Phil could do is actually, Phil, sit down with your back to the sofa. With your legs spread straight down in front of you. So this is another option. This is the next position we're going to do, is where somebody is not quite lying down, but this might take place in a bed where someone's got their legs stretched out in front of them. You could do this on the floor right now if you don't have a sofa available, but we do have a sofa. So let's use the sofa, and let's have you sit stretched out with your legs stretched out on the sofa. So what we're simulating here is what we might do if someone were sitting up in bed, basically. And what we can do this is a resting position for the person who's receiving a massage. So oftentimes somebody will sit in bed in order to rest. I could offer a massage to my partner while they're in this position. And what I'm doing right now is I'm sitting at the lower end toward the feet. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to glide in the direction toward my partner's head. And so you'll see me doing that. So again, for a pregnant person, I would use light touch. But go ahead and try this out. I'm making full hand contact. And I'm gliding up and down the leg as far as I can go in either direction. So I would like to come all the way to the end of the foot if I can. I can kind of glide off of the toes, just like I did with the hands. Do the same thing, glide off of the toes. And then glide back on and glide upward. I can connect the leg to the arm, and then I can glide up the arm. And this involves me, this is interesting right now because Phil is on the sofa and I'm kind of at a lower height. If this were a bed, I might be sitting next to the bed in a chair, and it might be a similar kind of position, but I want to be careful to move myself in the way that I need to. I don't want to lean really far over or kind of twist in such a way that doesn't work for me. I just want to move my entire body to where I need to go. Now I'm going down and back and then up again. I could also do this from the opposite direction. So let's say that I'm closer to the person's head. A moment ago, I was starting at the feet. Now I'm closer to the head. And what I can do from here is I can adapt some of the other things we did while sitting in chairs. I can do that right here. I can put my two hands on my partner's shoulder that's close to me, and I can glide across. Okay, now my partner, let's say, is sitting in bed, resting against a headboard. I can still get my hand in back here. Okay, so I'm just going to do that same glide, and then I'm going to glide down the arms, off the fingertips, and come back up again. Come back up to the shoulder, glide across the torso. I can even reach, if you can see this, with my hand, I can reach across to the arm that's further, and I could glide down that. I see that it's probably not showing up too well on the screen. So that's something I can do. Also, that squeezing of the neck that we showed earlier, where I make my hand into a C shape like this, I'm going to place that, with using one hand behind my partner's neck. I'm going to grasp the back of the neck, and I'm just going to squeeze. I'm going to move my hand slightly up and down. So lower neck, middle neck, upper neck. And I'm using medium pressure. Is that pressure okay? Again, most of us enjoy having our necks rubbed, our shoulders rubbed. There's a few people out there who really do not like having their necks rubbed. It's too sensitive of an area. So just check to be sure. Your partner might really, really love it, or they might say, nope, I know that's not, not a good spot. So squeezing the neck. That's what I'm doing, just grabbing this nice set of muscles to the back of the neck, which hold up our heads. The adult head is about 15 pounds. I always think of 3 sacks of potatoes, 5-pound sacks of potatoes sitting on top of our necks. And that's the job our necks need to do every day, is carry around those 3 sacks of potatoes for us. It's nice to give that a squeeze. Okay, and so now I'm going to give an introduction to positions where the person is lying down. And when we meet next month, we're going to spend the entire session on techniques that can be used in lying down positions. So for today, it'll be an introduction. And what I'd like to ask Phil to do is to lie on your side facing the back of the sofa. So if you've got a sofa, that's great. If you're at home and you've got, yeah, let's see. Would you like this between your knees?
Oh, that's right.
Here's where you go.
Okay.
Does that feel okay? Okay. So if you've got a sofa, you can do this. If you're at home and your bedroom's available, you can do this on the one edge of the bed. And let me just check something here. I'm gonna make one more adjustment. Phil, how does that feel? For
Yeah,
your head?
fine.
Does that feel good?
That's
Okay.
much better.
Good. Okay. So now, and are you able to stretch your legs out a little bit and move? Yeah, move yourself toward this. So you're not kind of coming off the edge of the sofa. Okay. All right. So now my partner is in a sideline position. And again, for a pregnant person, that's the position they usually will need to use for resting because of the large belly. They'll need to be on their sides rather than, they're usually not going to be face down, or even face up. So what we can do if someone is in a sideline position is I'm going to be at one end of my partner's body. Right now I'm at the head, and I'm going to use my hand that's close to my partner, and I'm just going to start my gliding. And this time I'm going to glide along this top surface right here, which for my partner it's the side of their rib cage. So I'm making that full hand contact, and I'm gliding from the shoulder across their side, and I'm going back and forth, shoulder, rib cage, all the way down to their kind of the crest of their hip, and coming back up. So let's repeat that a few times. Gliding. When I come up over the corner of the shoulder here, and my hand actually reaches the area of their neck, I could incorporate that little neck squeeze once again. So right now I've got my fingers to the top of the neck, and my thumb is going to be underneath the neck. So if you look at the camera, you can see the position I'm holding my hands in. Fingers to the top, thumbs to the bottom, and I'm going to place that to the back of my partner's neck. Fingers on top, thumbs to the bottom, and I'm just going to do some light squeezing from behind the neck. With both hands, squeeze. Does that feel okay? You know, the neck is a kind of a small area, so not a lot of room to move around, but I can do, you know, bottom of the neck, top of the neck, just kind of move my hands up and down and squeeze. And I also have access right now to my partner's upper arm. So right now, Bill's got his arm kind of hugging, he's kind of hugging himself to the front. So if I wanted, I could just glide my hand downward. I could just follow his arm from the shoulder, and then it's kind of hugging him to the front. I'm following the arm. Or I could take his arm and I could move it so that it's stretched out along his body like this. So now we've got his arm a little more accessible to me. And I'm going to do my gliding on the arm. And I'm going to come off the fingertips. And I'm going to glide back. So let's try that. Let's try massaging the arm in a lying down position. And really, one of the most important things I'm doing right now is I'm maintaining my full hand contact. So if you look at the screen, you'll see I've got my palm of my hand, all my fingers and my thumb basically wrapped around the arm. And that's really, again, one of the most important principles. We just want to keep coming back to that over and over again. Excuse me, that full hand contact is going to give a really satisfying quality of touch. So I'm going up and down the arm with one of my hands. I could do it with two of my hands as well. I just want you to see me a little bit better. But I'll add my other hand side by side like this, and I'm going to use that to glide on the arm. Something else I can do, and I'll spend more time on this when we meet again in February. It's a little bit interesting if you're doing this for the first time. When you start doing massage in the sideline position, it can feel a little bit awkward to massage the back because the person giving the massage tends to feel like they've got to twist themselves in order to line themselves up with the back. So don't worry about that too much. Just notice whether your own body feels comfortable in this position. You don't want to twist your own body so much that it hurts or feels weird, but just start by resting your two hands on the top of your partner's back with your fingertips pointing downward toward in the direction of their feet. And you want to find that area on either side of the spine. Again, you might need to ask your partner, where is your spine? I think I have found my partner's spine. Is that your spine? Okay, so I don't want to rub the spine. I don't want to rub the bone. So I'm going to try to get my hands on either side of the spine. I kind of have to almost reach underneath my partner to not rub on the spine from below, and then my top hand is fine. And now what I'm going to do with my hands pointing in a direction down to my partner's feet, I'm going to start to glide on the back, and I'll make it to the lower back. So if you want to take a look at the screen and see me doing that, and now I'm going to glide back up. And it might feel a little awkward to try out this sideline position for the, sideline massage stroke for the person giving the massage. It can feel a little awkward, but as long as I'm not hurting myself, that's okay. And does this feel satisfying for you? Okay, good. So that way I can use both of my hands to get the whole back. I can also use one hand. If you take a look now, I could just use one hand, and I can kind of do that circular or large rectangle again. Up one side across the shoulders, down the other side across the lower back. So I actually am making like a circular shape right now. Up, kind of along the underside, across the shoulders, kind of top lateral side of the body, across the lower back. So I can make a circle there. Now I'm going to move to the lower end, and we've just got a couple minutes left, so I'm going to finish up here. But you can stay where you are. And so from this end, I start at my partner's foot, and I'm going to glide along the leg. this hand. And I'm going to glide here, but this is the upper leg, lower leg, and foot. Full hand contact, upper leg, lower leg, and foot. And a couple more times, lower leg, upper leg, come back down to the foot. And making full hand contact, and that's really what's making it so relaxing, is that I'm not just using my fingertips, I'm really making contact with my entire hand to give that really comforting quality of touch. And if I wanted to, I could even go from the foot, the lower leg, I could keep going, and I could bring that up the back and down again. Just being mindful of my own posture, that I've got enough support, I'm not hurting myself. And that's what we wanted to share for today. And like I said, next time we're going to be focusing entirely on laying down positions, so side lying, as well as some laying on the back, laying on the front, and a lot more that we can do with those positions. And I wanted to just make a comment about the idea of practicing massage and the way that we use the word practice. So we can use the word practice as a verb, and we can say, I'm going to practice massage. We can also use the word practice as a noun. So just like somebody might say that they have a yoga practice or they have a meditation practice, we can, excuse me, we can say this, the same thing for massage, and we can say that we're going to have a massage practice. And by that, we mean that it's something that we incorporate into our lives on a regular basis that really helps us connect with an important core part of ourselves and or helps us connect with another person. So I like to think of massage practice in those terms. And I'd love to invite you to come back again to our massage practice. Let's do this throughout the rest of the year with each other, and keep an eye out for our announcement of future dates. If you have any last questions about the material that we covered today, then please drop your messages into the chat box, and I'd be happy to answer questions. What we also have coming up at Boston Doula Circle is that we're going to be offering some very special workshops on the topic of breastfeeding. And we're going to look at breastfeeding from the perspective of seeing it as a mind-body experience. And we're going to take a little bit of a different perspective from the way that breastfeeding or chest feeding is usually taught in a more procedural way. We're going to look at it as an experience that we can approach from a perspective of intuition, body awareness, and parent-baby communication. And it's a method that I've seen to be successful over and over with families. So I'm excited to share that with you. That's another offering that we have coming up soon. That's going to be an entirely free program coming up in February and March. So keep an eye out for some announcements about that. I hope that today was helpful and enjoyable to you, and let's come together and practice again. And thank you so much for being here.